on. On tonight's show, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com about Steve Jobs, about the new biography of Jobs from a couple of Fast Company writers called Becoming Steve Jobs. If you'd like to pre-order it, you can. You can go to the website, yourmaclifeshow.com. Right there on the left-hand side, you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a link to the biography. Click on that, and then you can pre-order it by Amazon. And when you do that, we get a little bit of a kickback, little pimp fee from the nice folks at Amazon. So if you're going to buy the book on Amazon.com, please do it through our website. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the iPhone. As you know, I've got right here my hot little hand, the iPhone, the iPhone Plus, 6 Plus. That's the word I was looking for. The giant. It's huge. When you're using it to make a phone call, it's like using a paperback novel to make phone calls with. It's just massive. But the thing I wanted to get this for was to see if I could do photography with it. If I could do the same kind of things I was doing with the combination of the iPhone 5S and my iPad. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. We're also going to be talking about, well, there's no other way to describe it, but let's talk to the new official YML HA?
Yes, I'm your HA.
The HA, the new official YML host assistant. Kim Guy. Kim, yay!
Hello. This is where I say hello. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
When I stop, this is when you start. Okay. This is how this is going to work. See, I'm stopping.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. Well, whatever. You hear that accent? Isn't that a lovely accent? Kim, where are you from?
I said earlier that I'm from Chilliwack.
You're not from Chilliwack. No one from Chilliwack has an accent like that.
No. I'm originally from a place called Coventry, which is in the Midlands in England. But then I lived in Somerset, as they talk down there, in the southwest of England before I came to Canada.
Why did you come to Canada? How old were you when you emigrated, I guess is the right word?
Yes.
Immigrated?
I was 27.
Okay. So about 10 years ago.
Oh, you're good.
I am. So you're now ensconced here in Chilliwack. Coventry. What's famous about Coventry?
Lady Godiva. The lady
That's it.
Rode naked around the streets.
And they still do that on a regular basis in Coventry.
It's a birthright. No.
Maidens Fair, wandering the streets of Coventry. How big is Coventry? Is it a city? Is it a small town?
It's a city. Yeah, it's a big city.
I'm just checking the Wikipedia entry for Coventry. It says the population is 329,000 people.
Is that good? A lot?
It's a good size. Pretty bigger than Chilliwack.
I was born there and grew up there, but other than that, I don't know.
Was it a good place to grow up?
Yeah, as a kid. Yeah, up until I was 16. Then I moved to Somerset.
Is it country living, farm living?
No, city.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all city.
Did you ever live in London?
No.
Did you ever want to?
Yeah, as a kid. Yeah, just because it's busy.
Does London have the same pull for Brits as New York does for Americans, or maybe even Toronto does for Canadians? Is it a place where you have to live at some point in your life?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to be a real into the city way of life, and not everyone is in England.
No.
You know, they're kind of stuck in their own ways. So.
The thing that always amazes me about England is how we perceive it to be much bigger physically than it actually is. It's actually a very small country. You can drive the length of England in a day easily.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't until I came to Canada that I realised how small England was.
That's right.
And how when you live in the southwest and you in Bristol and you want to go to London, that's a big trip. That's like a thing you do on the weekend. But here, it's no different than driving from Chilliwack to Vancouver.
Yeah, exactly.
And we do that every day.
Every day. Yeah. It's interesting. So Kim is going to be on the show. She has become the official, as she says, host adjacent? No, host assistant.
Adjacent.
Host adjacent. I like host adjacent, actually.
Hell's Angel.
She has her own email address. It's Kim, K-I-M, obviously, at yourmaclifeshow.com. And we'll talk to her more later. One thing we have to make clear right from the beginning for those folks who are watching the video, this is what Kim rides.
What do I ride? Oh, a Harley, of course.
What kind of Harley do you ride?
A 1200cc Nightster.
And this is your first motorcycle.
It is, correct.
You bought for your first motorcycle
A big beast.
a 1200cc motorcycle.
Yes.
That's not right. That's wrong.
Yeah, and the first 2 seconds I was on it, I nearly killed
No,
myself.
jeez.
Yeah. It's all good now.
ArcSign asked in the IRC chat room, ask Kim if she'd like to share her favorite book or movies or TV shows. We'll get into that. We'll definitely get into that kind of stuff. People, she's cringing. Okay, first of all, when she's talking, my lips aren't moving. Okay, but it means that she's talking, but she doesn't want to be on camera. So you guys send her email to kim@yourmaclifeshow.com, encouraging her to be on the video of the show because she doesn't want to be. She's shy. Like Sly. Sly never wanted to be on video either. I'm surrounded by these pretty women who don't want to be on video with me. Because they make me look better if they do. So please, Kim@yourmaclifeshow.com. Kim is also on the show because she is the only person I know personally who is not a techie, but wants an Apple Watch. A lot of techies want Apple Watches. A lot of folks who are, into technology in general, Apple stuff in particular, like us, want an Apple Watch. But Kim isn't. You wouldn't describe yourself as techie at all, would you?
The complete opposite, if
Yeah,
there
well,
is
no,
such a word.
there is. It's called a Luddite. But you're not a Luddite. You use technology. But you are not enamored of technology.
No. It has to be proven to me that it's going to make a difference in my life positively, or I have to just come across it and use it and go, ooh, that's cool,
Yeah.
and then I'm hooked. Yeah.
How did you first find out about the Apple Watch if you're not techie?
Through you.
Was it?
Yeah.
You hadn't heard about it beforehand?
No.
Because it had been announced back in September, so I was curious if you'd seen it on the news.
So I obviously, I don't watch a lot of news. I don't read newspapers, so that would be why. Unless someone tells me or I see it,
No.
I wouldn't know.
So I was showing Kim some of the videos on the Apple website about the Apple Watch, and you immediately wanted one. Was
Yes.
it just because the ooh factor, or do you see a particular use case for yourself in the Apple Watch?
Initially, I just wanted it for the ooh factor. Because I like big watches. I like the face to be big. I don't like digital, never have done watches. I like to have the face, the analog.
Hang on. You know the Apple Watch is digital, right?
Yes, I know that, but it can have the face of a normal watch. But also, because it does all the extra stuff that my iPhone does, which I think is cool, and I can personalize it with my own pictures.
MacMan says, hey, she's doing great so far. I'd be yammering on like a doofus.
Who I would be yammering on like a doofus?
No. MacMan says if he was on the show,
he would be.
He'd be yammering on like a doofus.
Oh,
so
okay.
that you are doing great.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Not bad for your first 10 minutes, huh?
Excellent.
Good. Brian Monroe says it's going to be interesting how the marketing and sales side of the Apple Watch goes. Something I've been fascinated by. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you about it on the show is because I know what Apple is doing. I know what the Apple Watch does. I know what Apple says it's going to do. What I'm interested to see is how it sells that to the average person. Not the $10,000 watch. That's not something. I think that's Apple showing off, if nothing else. But how is Apple going to market the Sport Edition and the Sport Bands and the stainless steel and the Milanese loop and how are they going to advertise that? How are they going to convince people who don't normally wear a watch? And you do. You wear a watch every day, don't you?
Yes, correct.
I only wear a watch when I leave the house, but you have your watch on now as we speak.
That's funny because that sounds like you never leave the house.
Yeah, no kidding. Fair point. Yeah, but the first thing I do when I get home, even though I love my Tissot, and I love the fact it's a big, heavy watch. The first thing I do when I come home is take it off. I think part of that is because when I first got it, I was still using a MacBook without a keyboard, and my wrist was constantly banging on the keyboard, so I take it off. So now, first thing I do is I walk straight to my little cubby hole, I take my watch off and leave it there. But if I leave the house without my watch, my wrist feels naked.
Right.
It feels really weird.
Can I ask you, do you use your watch to tell the time when you're out, or
Yes.
do you use your phone?
My watch.
See, I'll be honest, I very rarely look at my watch.
Yeah, you'll look
the
at.
time.
Oh, I've seen people do this. Ask them what time it is, and watch them pick up their iPhone, even though they have a watch on their wrist.
Yes.
They'll
Yeah.
pick up their iPhone.
Yeah.
You're using your watch more as a fashion statement.
Correct. Yes, I do.
You're using your watch also more of a how to describe it? A tribal gathering signal.
Yes, look
to
at
your
me.
people.
My people, my Harley people. Yes.
Because it's a Harley watch.
It is.
And it's a particular kind of Harley watch.
It is, because it has the Willie G skull on it.
The hell is the Willie G skull?
It's specific to Harley. That's their skull logo. It's a nice logo. It's not a scary logo skull.
It's a skull!
It's a Harley skull.
How can a skull not be scary?
Ask anyone that has a Harley.
That's a whole different crowd. I don't talk to those people.
You talk to me.
No, it's by an accident.
Yeah, no, it's a fashion statement. So the fact that Apple have this watch that will be a fashion statement, but will also be my iPhone, basically, is awesome.
Monty says the only time I take my watch off is when I'm in the shower. MacMan says in the house the watch comes off, I'd go insane if I leave without it. He's the same as I am. Obviously the watch has to be taken off overnight. Dave D, oh man, skulls. Reminds me of the Grateful Dead. No, different skull entirely, dude. Someone in the IRC chat room, do a search for Willie G skulls, and then post a picture of it in the IRC chat room so folks know that. Hiker BC says, Shawn, have Kim say aluminum.
It's aluminium. Like chassis. Aluminium chassis.
Chassis. Yeah, chassis is another one that annoys us. Folks, so later on we'll talk more to Kim. Send Kim email at kim@yourmaclifeshow.com. If you have any questions for her, and we'll get into more of who Kim is and that kind of stuff a little later on. We'll talk more about the Apple Watch. We'll talk more about Steve Jobs and giving up a liver. Would you give up a liver to somebody? A stranger? Your best friend? A relative? I think you should. We'll talk about that a little later on in the show. Up next, we'll talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. I unplugged this. Sorry, I gotta replug it in. Hang on. I told you this was gonna be a train wreck. I told you I was gonna mess things up. Come on, phone, wake up. Hello, phone. Yeah, I gotta get back to the music app. I gotta click on this. I gotta go back to here. Okay. I'm gonna call Jim now. Y'all hang in there. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King. Just trying to get my phone set up here so I can get Jim on the line. Hang on a second, Jim. We should have Jim on. Could you take your case off your phone, please?
Ooh.
Sorry, we've got a case on the phone that makes it hard to plug in the audio bit that I need to talk to Jim with. See, there's this little audio cable right here, and that needs to go into the, at least pull the bottom bit off, if nothing else, without hanging up on Jim. My host adjacent is failing me as we speak.
Because I don't take this off.
Do 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 do.
I think I don't. Oh no, I didn't.
Boop, 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 boop. Are you calling him back?
No.
Did you lose him? Is he there?
No, he's there.
Is he there? Jim, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, wow, that was awful. Sorry. I don't have everything set up in the new studio yet. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Let's talk a little bit more about the Apple Watch. You and I and Dave Mark from The Loop all spoke this morning on the Amplified podcast that we're talking about the health aspects of the Apple Watch. Have you looked at some of the apps that we talked about?
Well, I've taken a look through the page, but I don't know. It's almost like I look through to see what I'm going to be able to do, but then again, you don't have one, so what are you going to do?
So you're kind of happy with the way the health app presents data to you right now, right? That's what we said on Amplified this morning.
Well, no, I'm not happy with the way that it presents data, but it's more of a collection vehicle than anything.
But you said this morning in The Loop that it was tough to see because of the way the health app presented information, or did I mishear you on that?
Yeah, no, that's about right.
That's one.
I would like an app to plug into HealthKit, grab all the data and display it in a better way.
Yeah.
And really, looking at it, the watch seems to do that.
It's certainly odd for Apple to have the health data presented in that kind of way. I was surprised to see, compared to other apps that I've used. Again, I said on Amplified, Pedometer Plus, and Moves. To me, it was odd that Apple presented the information in such a basic, rudimentary kind of way, as opposed to even prettying it up would have been better. I wonder whether Apple's just ignoring the health app because they know it's going to be not the thing we use every day. The Apple Watch will be, and therefore not presenting.
Well, I think it has more to do with the fact that HealthKit is the vehicle that collects the data, and then there are going to be other things that you use to display it, like the watch.
Yeah.
That's how I see it anyway.
I'm really interested to see how Apple is going to do this. We've been talking about Apple marketing, and I think one of the interesting aspects of the Apple Watch is that it can do and be so much. It can be your exercise watch. It can be your fashion statement. It can be your iPhone assistant. So Apple's got a bit of a challenge, but also a great opportunity to be able to spread out their marketing message to a much wider audience than they do if it was just straight Macintosh or just straight iPhone. Do you agree with me?
It's spread out their marketing message how?
Well, they're going to be marketing now as opposed to marketing just the technology of the iPhone. They're going to be marketing in fitness magazines. They're going to be marketing, as we've seen, in Vogue.
Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, you're right. I mean, this is a whole new thing for them. It's fashion, it's fitness, it's just so many different things.
The one of the interesting. Sorry, Jim.
Well, most definitely, there's going to be a lot of new stuff on there.
One of the things I thought was really interesting, I read that I hadn't thought about this before, was the idea that Apple is going to be With the Apple Watch, they are going after both the low end and the high end of a market for the first time. The low end being the Pebble. It's a little more expensive than a Pebble, but the high end is up in the reaches of a low end expensive fashion watch. It's the first time Apple's done this, where they've gone after both ends of a market. Do you see it that way?
Yeah. It's the first time that they've really offered, that kind of a variety right off the bat. I mean, usually take the iPod, for example, they went after the high end. And it wasn't until later where they swung back and get the low end. They never usually start off targeting the low end. But, this time it was, I suppose, typically for them, the high-end product this time would have been the mid-range one, the $1,000.
Yeah.
Or, it's not even going to be $1,000. The one that I want, I think, is only $699. So unless Tim was listening, and then I meant the gold one.
Yeah, and you said before you want the rose gold one. I mean, go big or go home, right?
That's right.
I mean, if you're gonna get a gold watch, get the most expensive gold watch you can possibly lay your hands on. There's no point in cheaping out in this thing. And
then you'll see me, beside my car with a hibachi stove melting it down.
Well, you remember, you won't get the value of it in the gold. The gold value of the watch is only going to be kind, maybe $3,000.
Yeah, only.
Only, yeah, no kidding. Did you read the article today? Another excerpt from the book "Becoming Steve Jobs." Tim Cook on Apple's future. Everything can change except values.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was a really interesting way of Cook describing the company, where he said that they were willing to change, and they will change, and they have changed everything about the company except its core values. I think that was fascinating to me, that encapsulation of who Apple as a company is.
Well, I think that's what's got them to where they are now, and that's what's going to, get them going forward. Apple hasn't stopped moving since 1997, 98. They've been moving forward and growing ever since. That's almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. That's a long time for a company to continue to grow. And, I mean, some of that has been meteoric growth, after the iPhone and when the iPad became the top-selling, the top-selling gadget of all time, or the top-selling music player of all time? Certainly music player, but these are iconic products. So when you look at things like that and the growth that Apple has, the only way that they're going to be able to continue that is to continue to move. And you can move up or down, and and that's why I keep saying that, people ask me if I'm worried about Apple falling. And no, not at this point, because they continue to focus. And as long as they continue to focus, they're going to keep going up. They're going to keep releasing products that are going to help them grow. Now, we've thought before, is the watch going to be as big as the phone? No, probably not. But is it going to be a device that's going to generate revenue and help Apple grow? Absolutely, because it's another thing that they have in their wheelhouse that they'll be able to say, well, we have the phone, we have the iPad, we have the iPod, we have the watch, and then, of course, not to mention computers.
Do you think the Apple Watch will ever become a standalone device?
Well, I mean, certainly the possibilities are there for sure. But, remember when the phone first came out and you needed a Mac in order to activate it? Yeah. Which crushed Apple servers every time a new release was made or something like that. So, now you don't. Now you can just go to the store, buy a phone, and activate it right there.
Yeah.
Just by turning the phone on. So the possibility is certainly there to do stuff like that. But, for now, is that something that Apple wants to do? Probably not.
We've got a comment from our friend Hiker BC in the IRC chat room. He's asking about, will the Sport Edition of the Apple Watch be good for swimming? Apple has said that it's rated for I think it's IPX7, which is good for a half hour of not submerged, but a half hour of being in water. So that would be okay for swimming. You swim longer than half an hour, you're probably going to drown. So you don't want to do that.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd take that chance or not, but I certainly wouldn't recommend it. But I have talked to people that have worn them in the shower. Tim is saying that he's worn in the shower. So maybe it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd be scared, because with my luck, I'd hit the side of the wall or something and put a little hole in it, and all of a sudden the thing would start smoking.
One of the things about that in that Fast Company article that I thought was really interesting, and I think this is key for anyone who wants to understand Apple, is Cook is quoted as saying, when Apple looks at what categories to enter, we ask these questions. What are the primary technologies behind this? What do we bring? Can we make a significant contribution to society with this? If we can't, and if we can't own the key technologies, we don't do it.
Right.
I think if you need to predict what Apple's going to do in the future, that's the sentence that you should focus on. That is the kind of thing that you should pay attention to. Apple's talking about the key technologies. From reading that paragraph, that to me has just signaled, hopefully to Gene Munster, that Apple is not going to be developing a TV set. Apple's not going to bring anything to a television set.
No, but it could bring something to the television market.
Oh, I agree with you on that. And I think the Apple TV is what Apple's going to bring with that description. That's the thing that Apple's going to bring to the market, is the innovation on the Apple TV, not on an actual Apple television set.
Yeah.
You posted up in the Loop the cost of an Apple TV streaming service. You say, I don't want commercials. I want to be able to fast forward and rewind. I want it all in HD. And I want to be able to watch an entire series anytime my little heart desires on any device. Now, Jim, how much are you willing to pay for all that?
$5. Right now, today, $5. I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see. There's a lot of things. I mean, everybody's talking about the stations that they will offer, and yes, that's important. But if I have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops, or there's restrictions on what I can watch and when I can watch it, and then it's just going to be a pain in the ass. And I don't know if that's something that. I mean, the cable is already a big enough pain as it is.
Yeah.
I want to do something like this to get away from that pain, not to add more frustration.
Yeah.
So if I can do that, yeah, what they were talking about in that story is a $30 to $40 price point. The analyst said the lower end towards $30.
Yeah.
Well, again, that depends on how many stations. Exactly what you get. I don't mind that. Just a show as an example, you take Law and Order, and the show comes out every week. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll watch that show every week. But all previous versions or all previous episodes of that series are available on demand.
Yeah.
I can just go in if I haven't watched any of the 200 seasons that the show has, I can go in and watch them anytime. That to me is important. I mean, if you look on demand things now, some of them just suck.
Yeah. They
have like 2 episodes per show, and no, that's not going to work for me.
Even things like Netflix don't often work that way. I mean, for example, there's always a listing every beginning and the end of each month of all the movies that are both arriving and leaving Netflix. Why? I understand in an intellectual reason why, but I don't want the video service I'm paying for to not have that movie available. If I want to watch Hot Tub Time Machine tomorrow, I should be able to watch it regardless of where I am in the schedule, whether it's spring, summer, winter, or fall. If I want to watch episode 7 of Seinfeld, let me watch episode 7 of Seinfeld. Don't make me jump through a bunch of hoops to find it.
I don't think it's them. It's the companies.
Yeah.
It's the cable and movie companies that do stuff like that. And to me, it's just ridiculous that they do it. Especially with these older ones. And then you get, services like Hulu. And I've looked at Hulu a couple of times in the past, and they have a lot of old shows, but not a lot of new stuff. And I'm thinking, what the hell? That's not at all what I'm looking for. So, there's more to offering this type of service than just the networks that are going to be there. The networks have to offer the right kind of service in order to make it worthwhile.
It's going to be very hard for them to do that, though. It's going to be very hard for them to get out of their entrenched mindset when it comes to the way their business has run, very much like we said on Amplify this morning, the way the music industry was doing things, and to a certain degree, the way the movie industry was doing things. This is not going to be an easy process for anybody. This is going to be a lot of pain involved, a lot of false starts. I don't know that Apple's 25-channel streaming service that is rumored to happen this fall is actually going to be viable or valuable or of value. But someone's got to start somewhere. Someone's got to do something to break this roadblock, to pull the fingers out of the dike and let the waters wash over the TV industry, to get them to pull their heads out of their butts to realize this is what people want, and we're willing to pay you for it too.
Well, and the thing is that a lot of these shows are already being pirated.
Yeah.
You can torrent and everything else and download the shows and movies. So why not make it available to me for a cost, and I'll gladly pay you.
Yeah.
But if you make it more difficult for me, I'm just gonna forget it.
You posted something on the Loop. I actually thought Dave Mark posted it because of the comments. You posted a couple of stories about Meerkat, the app that has popped up because ahead of South by Southwest, and you said we're all fascinated by Meerkat, but we don't know where it's going yet. Why do you have this interest in Meerkat? You're a guy who doesn't appear on video.
Well, I think that it's funny. I had a conversation or an exchange today with a fellow who's involved in startup funding, and he asked me basically the same question. Why are you fascinated with this? And I think that we're at the point in the stage in technology and the society where we're all fascinated with watching things as near real time as we can possibly get. And, Instagram, whatever, pictures, video, it doesn't matter. For the average user, they would never be able to set up any kind of a video stream and from their iPhone and blast it out to all their Twitter followers and have people watch. But Meerkat makes that easy.
But that process has been around for years. It's been easily done for years. I've been doing it for 10 years.
Sure. Right. But you're not an average user. I mean, you're more of a dick than most people, but you're not an average user. So, when you can bring something like that to the masses, then people start to get fascinated with it. And I think that's where we are. Nobody knows where it's going to go. I mean, the CEO from Meerkat said at South by Southwest this week that, they're, even though they've been blocked by Twitter, they're going to release some new features and figure out different ways for people to share with their Twitter friends and things like that. So, I think it's clearly this thing of live video feeds and things is not going away because Twitter just bought a company that does this.
Yeah, called Periscope.
Yeah, so clearly it's not going away. But it just won't be Meerkat.
I think it's really interesting that folks seem to be jumping on Meerkat as if it's the latest and greatest thing. This has been available for years. Justin TV and any number of other folks had apps on the iPhone where you could broadcast live video to Facebook, to a website that you can post the URL to your Twitter account. This is not a new thing. This has been around for a very long time for the average user.
But I don't think that it was as simple as this.
Possibly,
and, you know, you have to I'm not saying that people are stupid. Maybe it's laziness. Maybe it's no time to investigate how it works. Maybe they just don't care to.
Yeah.
But if you let them press a button and everything happens, okay, I can get on that. You know, but otherwise, why bother? You know, but now, you know, Meerkat has brought this stuff and made it so accessible that it's frightening. I think that people are jumping all over it.
I certainly agree with you with the accessibility aspect of it, but I don't think that there is the user base for it. Right now, it's South by Southwest and it's being driven by the excitement of that and by the fact that Technorati have found their latest bright, shiny thing to use and play with, their latest toy that they can use to broadcast themselves to the world. The vast majority of people don't want to watch this stuff, though. That's been proven time and time again that most people don't want to sit in front of their computer and watch these guys broadcasting their lunch, their boring interview with some other nerd. The vast majority of folks, I don't believe, want to watch this stuff. So even if the Technorati think it is a cool tool, I don't think the market wants it.
The masses seem to disagree with you, at least for now. And, you know, I'm doing a Meerkat tomorrow when I try on my new Speedos.
Oh, jeez, dude. I just threw up my mouth a little bit. Come on, man. I just got the cold chills. You can't see that. People in the chat room are you brain bleach, cinnamon. Oh, God. Anyone have some Everclear? Oh, man.
There's a mass of people poking their eyeballs.
Oh, no kidding. Just that the mental image of Monty's. Please stop saying things I can't unsee. I will, but in all honesty, I will believe that Meerkat is a real thing and not just a techno geek kind of thing. When you, Jim, do an actual real live Meerkat. Nobody
said it was a real thing. All anybody said, and what Cameron said and what I agreed with, is that there's a fascination. And that's why I think that there's a fascination with it.
I still think the fascination is just from the Technorati, is just from the blogging nerds.
People are watching it. I mean, they're getting people to watch it. So there is some fascination. It's just a matter of where it's going to go. And I think it will go somewhere. Maybe not with Meerkat, maybe not with Periscope, but it is going to go somewhere.
Okay, fair enough. We shall agree to disagree. Folks, I've been talking to Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. As always, Jim is here each Wednesday. We also do Amplified on Wednesday mornings with our good friend Dave Mark. We had a great conversation this morning. Check it out at 5by5.tv/amplified. Sponsored by the nice folks at lynda.com. You can get a free 10-day trial to lynda.com by going to theloopinsight.com and finding the URL there. Jim, thanks for joining me, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Shawn.
Have a good night. See ya.
But
Let me turn this down before I pull Jim's cord. You deal with that. Sorry about the beginning bits there. It's because I don't have the gear set up here correctly yet. I think there was Monty was telling me that the audio was a little loud, so my apologies for that. I'll get all this fixed hopefully by next week. In celebration of our new host assistant, Kim, she brought this stuff home. Tell the audience what this is.
Dandelion and burdock.
Okay.
It's a pop. It's not a beer. It's not alcoholic.
Or soda, as the Americans would say.
Right. And it's a pleasant drink. So cheers and drink it.
It's got the name dandelion in it.
Because it has dandelion in it and burdock. They're both plants.
So you want me to drink dandelion?
Yes, it's botanically brewed.
I don't give a rat's ass how it's brewed. What does botanically brewed mean?
It means it's brewed with plants in it.
What's a burdock?
Plant. I have no idea. Weed, probably. Bit like dandelion.
So you're making me drink weeds.
Weeds, not weed.
Carbonated weeds.
Yes. Try it. It's good. Try it.
See, the text in the back is too tiny to read. That's not fair.
Well, I actually read the bottle, the ingredients, for the first time. I've been drinking it since I was about 6.
No.
In England, it goes very nicely with fish and chips out of newspaper.
Well, then I have to drink it then, because I love fish and chips on newspaper.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so this is dandelion and burdock botanically brewed soda pop.
Yes.
Jesus!
No, he's not in it.
Is that what dandelions taste like?
Yes.
That's a weird flavor.
I know, but it's kind of cool. It's a kind of herbal root beer, almost, I think, is a way to describe it. Yeah.
Root beer is made of roots, as Dave D says.
There you
sarsaparilla. Susan, would Logan like it? I think Logan will like it. I think because
Yes.
it's just weird tasting. Logan would definitely like it.
Yeah, kids would like it.
It's got a really strange, to a North American palate. It's not a bad flavor, but it's a different flavor.
Yeah.
There's definitely soda in there, ginger.
Yes, there is ginger. Yeah.
Gives a little bit of a sharp, tiny little bite to it. But I'm going to assume the weeds, the dandelion and burdock, whatever the hell a burdock is what's giving it this odd flavor. And it's carbonated. So how good is it for you? What's the stuff on the back? What does it say? Read yours. You've got one.
No, I got rid of my bottle.
You already drank yours?
I drank mine. It's good stuff.
Is it as bad for you as soda is here in North America?
Yeah, it's got 30 grams of sugar in it.
Oh, jeez. Kidding me?
But it's
It's got a bit of an aftertaste.
130 calories. I still think that's less than a can of Coke.
I haven't had a can of Coke. This is the first soda I've had probably in 10 years. I just stopped drinking Coke. I used to drink Coke a lot.
Yeah.
But that's probably the
And
first.
it's not over carbonated, so you won't belch.
I like belching.
Times.
I'm a guy. I like belching. Shawn's becoming a hipster. Are you drinking it chilled or room? Do you drink it chilled or room temperature?
Chilled.
So it's like soda. You drink it chilled. Monty asked that because he probably had British beer. What were you saying? I heard you telling somebody about fish and chips in England. They've changed. They don't do it in newspaper anymore?
No, that changed. Probably not long after I came to Canada. So 20 odd years ago, they changed it.
It's because of the lead in news ink.
Yeah, big deal. You didn't actually.
Pretty big deal. Lead can kill you.
No, but you used to get your fish and chips in the greaseproof paper and then a white piece of paper, and then they were wrapped in newspaper to insulate and keep them hot while you held them on your walk home. But now they eliminated the actual newspaper. You're not allowed to use real newspaper.
And what have they replaced it with?
Printed paper that looks like newspaper.
That's just the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
It's now a fake newspaper.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah, that's what they use. And usually most fish and chip shops have them made up to look like a newspaper talking about that fish and chip shop.
That's hilarious. Monty says, why does a red X on a red question mark on a white background appear every time you switch between your camera and the pictures of Jim tonight? I don't remember seeing that in the past. No, it's a new glitch in this latest version of Watercast. Excuse me, it doesn't make you burp. Of course it makes you burp. A glitch, a bug in this version of Watercast for YouTube, Monty. It's known, and hopefully they're going to fix it in a future version. Excuse me, sorry. So you had a comment, we were talking earlier about Steve Jobs and liver transplant. What was it you wanted to talk? Folks, for those who are Tuning in late, the voice you were hearing is our new host adjacent, Kim Guy. Kim?
You're going to stick with the adjacent.
I like host adjacent. You guys tell me, let me know. What do you guys think? Do you like host assistant? Do you like co-host? I don't like co-host because she's not co-anything. She's not. Co to me means you're doing half the work. And she ain't doing nothing but sitting there looking pretty. To be fair, that's all she's doing right now. So you co-host, host assistant, which is what Kim prefers, or host adjacent, which is what I prefer.
Better than HO.
Yeah, you're not the
Host
host.
opposite.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. And we had 3 of them, it'd be ho, ho, ho. But anyway, so send her email to kim@yourmaclifeshow.com. So what was it you wanted to say about Steve Jobs and liver transplants and stuff like that?
Well, you brought the subject up, and
That's right.
I wasn't aware that, what's the gentleman's name?
Tim Cook.
Yeah, Tim Cook.
CEO of Apple.
Had offered a portion of his liver to Steve Jobs when he was sick and dying. And Steve Jobs had refused it. And you said, why would he? Why would he refuse that? Well, yeah, he's his boss. That's like you're indebted to him in a whole different way. And I see that. Lots of bosses of big corporations don't want to be indebted to their staff that way.
Interesting point of view. I don't think it would be applicable in this case because Cook and Jobs were definitely friends. Okay. They certainly were boss and employee, but they were very much co-partners. Cook is the guy that Jobs chose in 2004 when he went, when he was sick originally, to be CEO for a temporary period of time. He was the guy that Jobs chose in 2009 when he went for the secret liver transplant to be CEO of the company. I don't think they had that strictly boss-employee relationship. I don't know if that was the issue. I believe, and I don't know this at all, but as I said on Amplified this morning, I believe Steve Jobs, we all know that Steve Jobs was an odd guy, to say the least. And he had some odd ideas. He was a strict vegan. A lot of folks don't realize this. Not a vegetarian. He was a strict vegan. And at one point, he was on, I believe that during college or shortly after college, he was I don't know if I'm going to call it this, a fruitopian. He only ate fruit, which made him sick because you can't live on just fruit alone. No. So he had some odd ideas. Initially, he was told that his liver, his disease could be not cured, but possibly cured through an aggressive kind of surgery. He said, no, I'm going to use this herbal medicine to do it. Didn't work. So I believe maybe it was more of a philosophical thought of Jobs. Now, whether that would be so extreme as to not wanting another person's body parts in yours, which I understand. Yeah. I disagree with it, but I would understand if you would have that moral objection to it. To me, as I said on Amplify this morning, it pissed me off because I'm selfish. And I want Jobs to still be around. As good as Tim Cook is, the company has doubled in size since 2010. And that's Tim Cook. That's the team that Steve Jobs put in place and how they've done Jobs' plan moving forward, merging with Tim Cook's plan, has put the company where it is today, which is the single most valuable public company in the history of the world. Possibly coming up on $1 trillion valuation. So the company is pretty much where Jobs wanted it to be. But I still wish he was around. I still wish, as good as Tim Cook has gotten with keynotes, he's not Steve Jobs. There is an excitement about Jobs. There's an intensity about Jobs that we don't get from Tim Cook. Tim Cook is very laid back, very southern from that point of view. Not as comfortable public speaking as Cook was. And Tim Cook, as Jobs was. And Cook will get there eventually. But yeah, for me, it's just a selfish thing. It's like, you bastard. This could have saved your life. This could have at least extended your life for 5 years, 10 years. Possibly.
But then just imagine how his friends and his close family
must have felt worse.
Exactly.
Imagine being his wife.
But that's his choice.
Certainly, I don't have a problem with his choice. Like I said, I'm being selfish. And I wish he'd made a different choice. I wish he had chosen a different path. I'm sure his kids. I mean, his kids. His kids. How could you say no to that operation when you have kids? I don't care what your moral obligations, your moral objections to it might be. Could you have done that? Could you have said no to this possible operation, having kids yourself? You at this point, Jobs knew he was going to die from this disease, and he knew he was going to die from it in a very short period of time, like within a year or 18 months. And someone comes to you and says, this is a fairly successful operation. The vast majority of people on both sides of the operation, donor and recipient, have no problems.
Yeah.
This is one of the more successful organ transplants mankind can do.
Well, that's it. I don't know the details, so it depends. Would it have altered his being, who he believed he was and was to everybody else? Like, would he have become a sickly, alive man and lived longer and been different? Like, maybe he didn't want that.
It's just your liver.
But I don't know what the side effects of having that.
It's not going to change your personality.
No, maybe. I don't know.
It means you can't drink beer, but...
Yeah, if it didn't change who I was, like mentally and physically that much, then sure, having kids, I would do the operation, yeah.
Let's talk about the Apple Watch. As we said earlier in the show, one of the reasons why Kim is here is because she is the only normal I know who is as desirous of the Apple Watch as the rest of us. You've looked at the videos on the Apple website. Is there anything in particular that attracts you? Sorry, what attracted you initially to the Apple Watch, and has that changed as you've learned more about it?
Yes and yes. Attracted me was basically it's going to sound really bad, the size of it, because I like a larger dial on my Facebook.
What do you think about the idea that Apple is not describing those dials as ladies versus men's, 38 millimeter versus 42 millimeter? They're not being described as bigger or smaller. They're just doing it as a number and letting people decide whether it's a lady's watch or not.
I agree with that because I've never bought watches based on ladies or men's. I mean, the size of the watch I'm wearing right now, it quite possibly could be worn by a guy.
Sure.
So no, that I was attracted because of the styling. It's very elegant looking, clean, fashionable, and then, like I said earlier, it's got the being of my iPhone.
What do you mean the being of your iPhone?
It can take calls,
okay.
I can text message, I can have my personal pictures on there. People can contact me without me burying my iPhone in my handbag or having to retrieve it.
Yeah, you have a real job, so you will often... you do. You have a real responsibility. A real job, so you will often be in meetings and things like that. Not before, but now, how do you deal with your iPhone? Do you turn it off in a meeting? Do you put it in your purse? What do you do with it?
I usually, depending on the caliber of the people attending the meeting.
Ouch! Oh, man!
I put it on vibrate only. Mm-hmm. Or if it's a really important meeting and I know I'm going to be in there, I have to turn it off. So it's no distraction at all. And then there are the occasional meeting, and hopefully nobody at work is listening to your podcast. I still leave it on so that I can, and have it on my lap even, so that I can reply. How
do other people in the meetings do it? Do you see people because I've seen people, I do it myself. I'll be sitting in a restaurant or a pub with a friend, I'll have my iPhone out, and when it beeps or buzzes or makes a noise, I'll pick it up and just read the tweet or the message, and I'll put it back down again. Do people do that at your work?
Yeah, they still do that at work.
Is that corporately acceptable?
Yes and no. It is to glance at it, and then some guys say, hey, excuse me, I've got to take this, because they realize who it is. I mean, I have 2 iPhones. I have one for work and one personal, so I got 2 on the go.
Why is that? Why do you have 2?
Just because I don't want my personal phone info. All the other guys use their work phone as a personal cell phone too, but I just don't want to do that.
You don't find it's a pain to carry around two separate phones?
No, because I have a handbag.
Good point. Yeah, I forgot about that handbag advantage. And you are now getting through work an iPhone 6,
Yes.
aren't you?
Yes.
Did you have a choice of the 6 or the 6 Plus?
No.
Okay,
no,
so
actually.
they're only going to give you the 6.
Yeah. We had choice between BlackBerry Passport bleh, or Samsung something and the iPhone 6. So I went with iPhone. I like iPhone.
There was never any thought to one of the others?
No, not for me. No.
Before the iPhone, what did you use?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
I don't remember before iPhone.
Yeah, BI.
No, I don't know. No, one of those little flip things.
Yeah, for me, I'm just trying to think the same
Razor.
thing.
Who made that?
Motorola.
Okay, one of those.
Yeah, I might have had a BlackBerry before. I don't remember exactly when. The reason why I was asking whether she had a choice with the iPhone 6 or 6 Plus is that I have the 6 Plus. And one of the things that I wanted to find out in getting the 6 Plus was, could I do the same kind of iPhone photography on the Plus that I do with an iPad and an iPhone? Let me explain. What I tend to do is I will take a picture with my, it's over there, a picture with my iPhone 5S. Then I will send that picture to my iPad. Now, if I'm out and about, I might email it to myself. I'm not carrying my iPad around with me. Or I will sync it up, Dropbox, or any number of ways. I will then open up my editing apps on the iPad, whether that be Pixelmator, or whether that be Color Splash, or whether that be my favorite, Snapseed. I'll then edit the photo on the bigger screen of the iPad, and then post it to Twitter, post it to Facebook, put a copy on Dropbox, email myself a copy, those kinds of things. So I was wondering if I could take photos with the iPhone 5S, with the iPhone 6 Plus, and edit them on the 6 Plus. And that was the key for me, is could I edit the photos on the screen of the 6 Plus? One of the problems I had in editing on the 5S was that because the screen was so relatively small, I couldn't see the details of my edits in Snapseed. As you guys have known, if you listen to the show, my favorite editing app, iOS device editing app, is an app called Snapseed from Google, surprisingly enough. Does an amazing job. And I tend to do, or I hope I tend to do, fairly minor incremental edits. So I want to get to the edge of garishness or oversaturation or too much HDR. I want to get to the edge of that, but not over it. And I found whenever I try to do that on the iPhone 5S, when I saw the photos later on my laptop screen, I'd go to Twitter, somebody would comment on it. I'd look at it and go, oh, that looks terrible. There'd be all kinds of pixelation and oversaturation and too much HDR, and everything was too much. It was because I couldn't see the image very well on the iPhone 5S. So in the last little while, I have been running around taking pictures with the iPhone 6 Plus, and then taking those pictures and opening them up in Snapseed. Again, my favorite app to use for editing images. Editing them in Snapseed and then posting them to Facebook. So basically, I'm taking the step away from the iPad. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure I could, because right now what I ended up doing is the iPhone would go in my pocket, the iPad would go on the motorcycle. Maybe I could skip that step and not drag the iPad around with me whenever I went places. And I got to tell you, I don't know how well this is going to come through on the video feed of the show, but this is an image I took of our little home here in Chilliwack. The mountains that you guys can see behind me in the window, that mountain right there, is the same mountain you see in this picture. This is a picture taken on an iPhone 6 Plus. And like every image I take, hopefully you do too, every image I take on the iPhone 6 Plus, it's a little under everything. The shadows are kind of boring. The colors are kind of boring. The grays are too gray. The whites are too muddy. The blacks aren't sharp enough. The iPhone 6 Plus takes good enough photos for the average person. I want my photos to be better than just good enough. That's why I use apps like Pixelmator and Snapseed and things like that. Camera Plus and Visco Cam. Is to try to make those images pop, to be more visually interesting. So this was the image I took in the iPhone 6 Plus, opened up directly in Snapseed, and then from there did the tweaks and edits I normally do in Snapseed to this image on the iPhone 6 Plus. I was blown away by how much detail I could see in the 6 Plus. Now, Snapseed still doesn't have the ability to zoom in on an image, which I think is a real downside of the app. But the app allowed me to see the picture in a big enough size that when I did go too far with HDR, I could dial it back. When I did go too far with the color saturation, I could dial it back. Or too far with the brightness or the exposure or those kinds of things. I could dial it back fairly easily. I'm really happy with this. And now it looks like I may be able to leave the iPad at home and not have to carry it around with me wherever I go. Mosquito says, that's one sweet little house. Dave D says, I repeat, I'm moving to Chilliwack. Mosquito, I can easily imagine doing image editing on a 6 Plus. Almost got one but leaned towards the 6. Mosquito, that looks like the kind of place Mrs. Mo and I would like to wind up in. Mosquito says, Shawn, were you able to edit well on that screen, even given your professed bad eyesight? Yeah, Mo. For the most part, the image editing. There we go. Sorry, I guess I was chopping my head off. But what do you care if I'm chopping my head off? You know I'm bald. It's like not like I grew hair in the last week. My bad eyesight try that again. My bad eyesight is usually with text, reading small print, like the print on the back of this bottle. I cannot read that stuff. I just literally cannot. I have no clue what any of that stuff says. But not for image editing. But it's surprising how, I don't want to say good my editing is. That's something for other people to judge. But how easy it was, how comfortable I felt doing it. I showed the app to Kim, and as everyone who I've ever shown the app to, they're all blown away by how easy it is to use. If you don't have Snapseed, get Snapseed. It's free. It's brain dead simple to use. It's powerful. And there's a lot of really cool, fun stuff. Do yourself a favor and download Snapseed. So yeah, I was very, very happy with the results of this image on editing it on the iPhone 6 Plus. And I really do think that's going to be a big deal for me not to have to take my iPad around with me wherever I go. The other thing about the 6, and this isn't photography related, but I wanted to find out was whether or not I could read on screen. I am a huge fan of the Pocket app, of grabbing articles off of websites and saving them into Pocket so I can read them later, read them when I'm sitting in a Starbucks waiting for somebody, if I'm traveling in an airport lounge, I can sit and read articles there. When I'm at the bike dealership waiting for my bike to get serviced, I can sit there and read articles. But it was tougher to do it on the iPhone 5S. Now, with the 6 Plus, it's easy. It's another reason not to have to bring the iPad around with me all the time. So, if you think about the iPhone 6 Plus and photography is a love of yours, a thing that you want to do, I definitely would encourage you to check out the 6 Plus. Dave D says, Chilliwack is almost a good name as Saskatoon or Hump Tulips. I know where Saskatoon is. I don't know where Hump Tulips is. By the way, to all my friends in Nova Scotia, I'm very glad I'm not there. Oh my God! They've had 75 inches of snow, centimeters of snow since Friday. 75 centimeters is crap. I don't know what 75 centimeters is. 75 centimeters. Let me quickly go to my dashboard, convert centimeters, 75 to, not miles, stop it, inches. 29 inches. So they've had 2.5 feet of snow in the last few days. Oh my God. I love my home province, but dear Lord, I do not want to be there this time of year. I was out riding a motorcycle yesterday. Well, I was riding a Harley yesterday.
Ha ha ha.
What's it again? It's a Harley Sportster? No.
Yeah, it is a Sportster, but
Sportster.
they call it the Nightster.
The
They
Nightster.
don't make it anymore. Yeah, 1200.
It's a pretty orange. It's the
Yes.
Harley orange and black.
Yes.
It has far too many skulls on it.
Willie G skulls.
Willie G skulls. At last count, I counted 12 skulls.
No, I think there's more than that. You
Oh
probably
my
missed
God.
the hubcaps.
You're right, I did.
Yeah.
Good point. So you have 16 skulls on it. It's a bit much, don't you think?
Did you count the ones that are bolting the license plate on? No, there's those two.
18 skulls.
Yeah.
Why?
Because that's the theme of that bike. That's why
Skulls?
I love Harleys. Yeah, you can dress them up. It's like accessorize your own bike. That's why they're popular.
But if you're using the same accessory 18 times, is it really accessorizing? Or is it just repeating?
No, it's accessorizing. That's the theme of that bike.
Skulls.
Willie G skulls, yes.
Why'd you buy a Harley?
Probably because I'm English and I'm in North America now, and Harley Davidson is definitely a North American motorbike. And I was exposed to probably more Harleys at the time.
Mhm.
So
It was the crowd you hung out with. They rode Harleys.
yeah, yeah. But again, I was drawn to them because I could accessorize them, and you can buy a stock Sportster and they all look the same, but once you've bought it, it becomes yours, and then you can park a dozen Sportsters next to each other and they all look completely different. You can't do that with a sport touring bike.
You're right. I'll grant you that. If another FJR parks next to me, I know exactly the year, make, and model of his bike just from the color, because the color is the exact same for my 2014 FJR is black, like every other 2014 FJR sold in Canada is black,
Right.
and there's very little customization, at least at the level that Harley does,
Right.
which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, you could change your grips,
Yeah,
couldn't you?
but you're not going to get Yamaha,
Yeah.
you're not going to get FJR grips.
Right.
Tell the audience the funny story of us going to the Harley dealership on my bike.
It was funny to me, not so funny to you.
No, less funny. Fair point. Less funny to me. I agree.
Well, there's a spot in Langley that has a few bike dealerships in the locale, and there's a Harley dealership, and there's also another bike dealership that deals with Kawasaki, Yamaha, Suzuki.
There's a Polaris dealership.
Polaris as well, yes.
They're all in a little cul-de-sac in
Yes.
the same area. They're across from each other, basically.
So as we pulled in, I was pillion passenger on the back of Shawn's bike, and I pointed for him to go park outside the Yamaha Suzuki dealership, not the Harley dealership, because Harleys park outside the Harley dealership. So we just walked across to the Harley dealership.
You wouldn't let me park my motorcycle in front of a Harley dealership.
No, I just didn't want to get off a Yamaha in front of the Harley
Jesus.
dealership.
Now, that's just the height of snobbery.
Yes, it is.
And you're okay with that.
Yes, I am.
Why are you okay with that?
Because that's my choice. My choice of bike. I like it best.
That's fine. But why would you discriminate against others for their choice of bike?
I don't.
You
I
do.
I love all bikers. I love all bikers because it's an awesome passion, hobby, whatever you want to call it. It's awesome. I love all bikers.
Yeah, but...
But Harleys, we're like our little club.
So if you're in such a little club, why didn't you ride your bike to the Harley dealership? Why were you pillying on my bike?
I don't know. Was it cold that day?
You think?
Remember. Yeah, because I don't have heated gear like you do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So being part of a little club doesn't include warmth.
No, not always, no. But they look cool.
Monty says, it's kind of funny to hear someone refer to a motorcycle being generous, since we're talking about a Harley, as being accessorized.
Yes.
Is she sassing him? Is she taking the piss? I like her. Monty, Harley's, it's all about accessories, bags, chrome, sound. Is Kim's as loud as the ones I encounter here in the States? Harley is the loudest bike brand by far, and most owners seem to want to make them as loud as possible.
Oh yeah, baby. She's loud. I have a stage 1 on it, so it's a little bit louder, and I have aftermarket pipes on, so yes.
Why?
Because I like the sound of it when I'm on it, and you know, you just kick the throttle. It's just cool. You got to do it. You got to be there.
There is no more efficient way to turn gasoline into random, useless noise than on a Harley.
And vibration.
And vibration.
Yesterday, yes.
I think I rode it yesterday for 50 kilometers. I think it rearranged body parts. I think my organs are no longer where they're supposed to be.
I don't have those organs, so that's why I'm good.
I wouldn't mind if the noise translated to power, but it doesn't.
My bike's pretty umphy. It's got some get up and go.
Macman says the sound of a Harley is very distinctive. Yeah, that's true. It's the design of the engine, the way the pistons move that make that very distinctive sound of a Harley. But I will admit, and this is something you and I have talked about, it's amazing how the other manufacturers have not pulled their heads out and seen how Harley riders like to accessorize.
Yeah, because we don't just accessorize our bikes
That's right,
with
yeah.
Harley. We accessorize ourselves with Harley.
Yeah.
All year long, even when we're not riding, and it's not
Which is
riding
most
season.
of the time.
Yeah, we accessorize ourselves with the clothing. So why don't Suzuki and Yamaha do clothing for their bike?
It's very interesting. I've never figured out why that's true. You can buy, you know, if you're a rider and you go into a dealership, you can see that they've got stuff for dirt bikes, Yamaha and Suzuki, and that kind of stuff. But for people like me who ride a particular kind of motorcycle called an FJR, I can't buy anything from the Yamaha store that says it's got T-shirts that says FJR on it, or a watch that's got an FJR logo on it, or any number of things. And from that point of view, I understand Harley from that point of view, because you're right. You can personalize your bike to be your bike, to be very distinctive with your personal flair. Now, the thing is that personal flair is a corporate thing that you bought and put on it. It's not like you designed the skulls and you know, created them yourself.
Right.
You're still buying mass market parts.
But my choice of where to put it and how much on my bike is personal.
It is. It's very interesting. It's something we'll definitely talk more about, because she likes to tease me, I like to tease her. So we'll definitely be teasing each other more when it comes to these kind of things, especially as she gets out on the bike and actually riding it, which she hasn't yet.
I have.
Yeah, but not very far. And you whine about how cold you were.
It was freaking cold that day.
Well, I was cold yesterday riding the damn thing. Let's go to some emails. As always, you guys can send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Love getting emails from you guys. onair@yourmaclifeshow.com, or you can send emails to me directly, Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com. This is a question from View Kwanda. Sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. It's interesting. It looks Vietnamese. When do I take color pictures, and when do I take black and white pictures in my DSLR camera? Interesting question. If you're a beginner, generally you take color probably 95% of the time. What you can do is, in various kinds of software, Photoshop and Lightroom and anything else, graphic converter, a bunch of things, you can shoot in color and then switch it to black and white in the application. You can also, a lot of apps will allow you, a lot of cameras will allow you to shoot in black and white. My Nikon D600 allows me to flip a switch in the menu, so I'm seeing through the viewfinder in black and white. I like doing that, shooting in black and white, because it forces you to look at a scene differently. Generally, when we're shooting in color, we're looking for color. We're looking for that bright red flower, or that pretty pink vase, or that green car. Our eyes naturally are attracted to color. But when you shoot in black and white, you don't see those colors. So that exact same scene may look completely different in black and white as it does in color. And it forces you to look at a scene kind of differently. You're looking at shadows and dark versus light versus gray versus a whole bunch of other different variations thereof. Not every picture looks good in black and white. Not every picture looks good in color either. When I'm editing my photos, almost every photo I take, I'll at least click, I use Lightroom 5, I'll at least click on the black and white button, sort of get a feel, maybe it would look good in black and white. And then even in black and white, there's 1,000 different variations of black and white too. Using Lightroom sliders or using plugins or using dedicated apps. So all kinds of ways of looking at black and white. So what I would suggest you do as a beginner is shoot everything in color and then use your software to turn it into a black and white shot. And once you get a sense of what looks good in black and white versus in color, then go back to your camera. And if your camera has the ability, change the settings in your camera so you're seeing in black and white, actually looking at your view screen and seeing in black and white, and then go out and shoot in black and white and see how that changes things for you. ArcScience says, black and white is a good learning experience. Take black and white pictures of subjects you know very well. It gives you a new perspective. That's absolutely true. The other thing is people look great in black and white. Shooting people's faces, especially, and this is sometimes counterintuitive, especially people who have, for lack of a better term, character in their faces. Old people look great in black and white. Wrinkles look great in black and white. So look for that. If you have a grandparent that is willing to be a model for you, switch your camera to black and white in the settings and just ask grandma and grandpa to pose for you. Have them sit next to a window that's got indirect sunlight and just talk to them. Just ask them about their life. Ask them about how they grew up. Ask them about where they lived. Ask them about what they did. What was their first job? Ask them who their first girlfriend was. Ask them if they liked school, what their favorite subject was. Just questions to get them talking. And as they're talking and they're smiling or frowning or whatever it is, take pictures of them. Take portrait shots of them in black and white. I guarantee you'll get really good results. Still just reading the IRC chat room. Yeah, Mosquito says, yeah, don't wait as long as I did with my mom to sit her down and get history. I couldn't do that with any of my grandparents. That's something in general we should all do. It was a project of mine in college, was to go, I used to work at a senior facility in Vancouver, and one of the projects in college was going around interviewing old folks. I think that's where I first learned that I could talk to people and interview complete strangers. And it's fairly easy because old folks generally have common experiences. Depending on how old they are, you could ask them, what was it like seeing TV for the first time? I'd love that conversation talking to the old folks in the seniors home that I worked in. Or because these folks were old enough, ask them, what did you do during the war? Most of them were kids during the war. And they could tell you some horror stories. They could also tell you some great stories. Ask them questions about life in the 50s or the 60s or whatever it might be. And so I would record these as a sort of an audio history of this particular group of people. Something else you don't know. We not only does YML have an official, I think, tween, Logan, we have an official chocolatier too.
Ooh,
We are the only podcast that has an official chocolatier. We have an official Jew. We have an official pastor. We have an official lesbian. We have, what else do we have official? We used to have an official beer, but not anymore. And something else. So yeah, we have an official chocolatier. His name is Ian McKenzie. He is the proprietor of Mackenzie's Candy Kitchen. Really good chocolate. Oh my God, his chocolate is so good. So good. He says, on a personal note, my daughter Megan graduated from Acadia in Wolfville, Nova Scotia, and is back in Santa Cruz working for a local company. Thank God, not mine. My son Colin will be heading to Acadia in August to start his college journey. His choice is to follow his sister's footsteps. I'm still plugging away in the chocolate business and look forward to your weekly show. I get a double fix now that you have joined Amplified. Okay, well, first of all, congratulations to your daughter, Ian, that she got through college. Good for her. And the fact that she went to Acadia. It's a beautiful, it's a very small school. I think only about 3,000 students in the Annapolis Valley in Nova Scotia. Beautiful place. But it's kind of interesting that they're in Santa Cruz, California, and his daughter and now his son, Colin, went all the way, like literally diagonally across the continent. You can't get much further away from Santa Cruz and still be on the North American continent. So interesting that, do we read into that? Did they want to get that far away from Dad? I'm just saying, it's a possibility. But I'm glad that your daughter had a good time. Megan hopefully enjoyed Acadia. Obviously, she enjoyed it enough to convince her younger brother to go there too. It's a great school, really neat place. Mosquito says, I hereby petition to be the runner-up official Laps Jew of Your Mac Life. I don't think we can do Laps Jew of Your Mac Life.
To be lapsed?
Well, lapse means you don't celebrate.
I know what it means.
Well, I wasn't sure if you knew what lapsed Jew meant.
So how did you get to be lapsed?
By not celebrating.
Okay.
Mosquito. Ugh! He's an atheist.
Oh, okay. Atheist, not agnostic. Interesting. I always find that interesting. Why do people say atheist?
Atheist means you don't believe. Agnostic means you're not sure.
No, agnostic doesn't mean you're not sure.
Yes, it does.
It means you don't believe until you've seen or been proven. That doesn't mean you're not sure.
Atheist means you believe there is no supreme being.
Right. Yes.
Agnostic means that you have seen no evidence and don't know.
One way or t'other.
Yeah, so you're not sure.
Exactly. No, not sure.
That's what
Choice of words. We'll agree to disagree.
Mosquito says, it means I was born to Jewish parents, I just don't care anymore.
Okay.
Fair enough. Scott Randall, our friend in the Long Island Macintosh user group. By the way, it's our official user group for Your Mac Life. The last podcast had no audio for the first 5 minutes. I explained at the beginning of the show. My apologies. I really love the view outside your window. Thank you very much. It's a lovely place. Related to your talk about Leonard Nimoy and Spock, to me, he made the original Star Trek what it was. The Apple Watch. Yes, it's cool. I see a lot of tech writers already say they want one. I personally don't have any desire to buy one, and I don't see how it would make my life any better. Are people really that lazy they want to avoid taking their phone or their pocket? I know some people feel awkward about taking their phone out to look at the time. A $49 Timex is fine for that. For me, and I might add a lot of others I've spoken to, including students in my class, they don't need to spend even the $350 for this. Others, I'm sure, will think differently, so they'll sell plenty of them. The new MacBook. One port? Really? When I use my 11-inch MacBook Air in the night class I teach, I use my Wacom tablet to show calculations. I always use at least 3 ports, sometimes 4, if I need the charger for a longer lecture. Okay, with 9 hours of battery life, I wouldn't need that one. Still, I have lots of FireWire equipment which would become useless since there's no FireWire adapter for this port. My 11-inch Air is light enough. It's not a strain to carry at all. The 1-inch difference in screen size is negligible. As for the Retina display, I've said this before, I don't see much difference. Finally, the processor is a Core M. I looked this up. It's a very low power processor. It's already been used in some Windows laptops. It's been tested as running slower than a dual Core i5. Now, no one has tested this yet, but I suspect it will run slower than my dual Core i5 11-inch MacBook Air. Apple is smart, so I'm sure they know there is a market for this, but they've made mistakes before, so I guess we will see. Scott, I completely get what you're saying when it comes to the new MacBook. But as a lot of folks have said and correctly pointed out, it just means the MacBook isn't for you. When the MacBook Air came out without an optical drive, a lot of people who had MacBook Pros said, well, that's not the machine for me. I'll never use that. Well, we eventually found ways of getting around the lack of optical drive and moved on. And the Air became a very successful platform. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm with you. This new MacBook, while I think it's interesting and it's kind of cool and sexy, I have no real need for it. I like the ability to plug in all this stuff that I've got plugged into my MacBook Pro right now. And granted, this is where Apple is going with the next version of the Air and the next version of the MacBook Pro. This removing ports. So we're going to have to get used to it. I don't think it's a bad machine. I think it's a great machine for the target market, which is not people who need to plug in a bunch of different things. Hiker BC says it provides differentiation between the MacBook and the Pro lines. Brian Monroe, it's for people who have an iMac or other Mac that want ultimate portability. Monty says, I just hope they don't do that to the MacBook Pro line. I think they will eventually, Monty. But I think, as Hiker says, it'll continue to provide differentiation for a period of time, for a good long period of time. I think we'll see the MacBook Pro at the upper end with all these kind of ports, and then eventually, maybe 5 years down the road, we'll see a MacBook Pro without any of these ports. You've been writing a whole bunch of notes. You anything you wanted to add?
No, I'm just taking notes for next week so I understand what you do better.
Do you have a better handle on what we're trying to accomplish here?
Yes.
By the way, folks, the other reason our host adjacent or host assistant is here is that she's now the new official YML prize girl. Yay! I have been really lax over the past few weeks and months about giving out prizes, about awarding prizes to all you great people who have subscribed to Your Mac Life. And I apologize for that. It's just been, life has been getting in the way and I've forgotten, and it's just a chore. So the YML prize girl, Kim, is going to take over that responsibility, and she'll be the one doling out the prizes each week here on the show, reminding me we have prizes to give away and helping me give away prizes. So thanks very much to her for doing that. As always, you can email me at Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com if you'd like. Email Kim at yourmaclifeshow.com, KIM at yourmaclifeshow.com. I think it's it for tonight. If you have any thoughts about any of the stuff we talked about today, organ donor. Are you an organ donor? You should be. Unless you've got moral, ethical, or religious objections to it, sign the card on your driver's license. Become an organ donor. It's not going to hurt you. You're dead. They don't take it from your live body, all right? You don't get into an accident and take one eye out. You're left with just one eye because you signed the organ donor card. This is not Life of Brian. Do you ever see that in Life of Brian?
I don't like Monty Python.
No, sorry.
I don't.
A, you're British. B, what?
I'm a different kind of Brit.
Okay, folks, we have to put this to a vote. Say it again.
I don't like Monty Python.
This is a problem. This conceivably could be a very large problem. I did not know this before I allowed you to become host adjacent.
Oh. I should stay host opposite.
Oh, you are a host opposite now. Yep, see, Hiker BC, deal breaker. Sorry. Put it into a vote. Put it into a vote of whether or not you are going to be allowed to continue on this show.
Oh, based on the fact I don't like Monty Python.
That's huge. That's like saying you don't like Star Trek.
I do like Star Trek.
Well, you should. Otherwise you'd be gone now. Star Wars?
Oh yeah.
All right, so you got 2 or 3 of the triumvirate. So you're a little less thin icy. It's still March on the lake you're on.
You know how old Monty Python is?
Yeah, from the early 70s. So how Star Trek's older than that.
Move on. It's like Hope. They're stuck on the fact that Rambo, the movie, was filmed there. It's like, get over it. Move on. Monty Python, move on.
Mosquito. Whew. Thank fuck. Dave D, that was fucking close. Mosquito. Nope. Monty Python's political commentary is timeless. Here's one. Doctor Who.
Oh, I love Doctor Who.
All right. But you haven't seen the new, you haven't watched Doctor Who?
No, I love the old Doctor Who.
You love the old
when
Doctor
I was
Who's.
a kid and
Yeah.
Daleks, and I was petrified of them. I would watch it from behind the door through the crack in the door. That's how scared I was. Yeah.
Okay, fine. The IRC has spoken. P. Booth, yes. Monty, yay, she can stay. Mosquito, okay, she can stick around. Doesn't matter which version.
Okay, good.
See, I've never seen any of the Doctor Who's except for this last season. I was never. I think I watched like 1 or 2 episodes of really early stuff and thought it was stupid. Like, who's gonna be scared of Daleks or little guys in?
I was.
Yeah, but you
They
were a kid.
like upturned dustbins. They were very scary.
How could an upturned dustbin be scary?
Very scary.
How is that scary?
Because they come around and they exterminate you.
And that was the other thing that annoyed me. Exterminate. Exterminate.
Yes.
Could you get better special effects than that? It was just crappy special effects.
Scary.
So anyway, I never watched any of the old stuff, but because Peter Capaldi was the new Doctor Who, and I love Peter Capaldi. I could watch him read the phone book. I think I just love the guy. That's when I started watching it. And that's when I started watching it and thinking to myself, this is really stupid. But it wasn't until I started talking to Whovians that I realized the stupidity is part of it. I didn't know that, at least for adults, maybe not for kids. But for adults, the fact that it's even inconsistent with its own internal logic. And that the science is bullshit half the time. And it's quite a stupid show.
It's escapism.
It's beyond escapism. There's escapism and but I agree, it is escapism. But escapism can also have its own internal logic and still make sense. Most of the things we watch on TV are escapism. But there were times I'm watching Doctor Who this last season going, this is just stupid. But Capaldi kept me watching, and I'll definitely want to. So yeah, you can say stop voting. Voting is stopped. She likes Star Trek, likes Star Wars, likes Doctor Who. We'll give her a pass on Monty Python stuff. All right. So send us emails to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com, to Kim at yourmaclifeshow.com. I want to say thanks very much to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. Ooh, hang on, I got to find this cable. For joining us tonight. Before I get interrupted, I don't know how. We were talking about organ donation. I think organ donation should be not mandatory, but it should be opt-out, not opt-in. Right now, at least here in North America, when you get a new driver's license, you have to check the box that says, I want to be an organ donor. I think that box should be already checked. You know what I mean? It should be pre-checked. So, because a lot of folks say they don't know they can be, or they don't know how, or whatever it is. You should have the option to opt out of organ donation as opposed to having to opt in. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree?
Yes, I do.
All right, good enough. I was hoping you would disagree so we could argue about it. But fine. Agree with me. See if I can. Folks, thank you guys very much for listening to the show. Audience is what makes the fun. You guys in the IRC are what makes it even more fun. So thanks you guys for being tuned in live. If you're listening to the archive, I appreciate you listening to the archive too. So until next week, as always, I've been Shawn King, and you're listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!